Somewhere in a previous video, you saw me remove the rear bolts for the front seat, driver's seat. And we only did that because I knew that there wasn't going to be a battery in it. And being an electric seat, it was just easier to do it while the battery was in it instead of having to take time to put a battery in it and risk shorting something out or, whatever. Now this video is sped up 300%. All in, it took me about an hour and a half or so to remove the entirety of the interior of the car. You can see me struggling here. These airbag connectors under the seats. Well, actually all the connectors under the seats are kind of a pain. And they're all different year to year. There's not a lot of consistency there. I've done all the way from 2001 through 2011, and I struggle with them every single time. Picks, bent screwdrivers, it all helps. Some of those airbag ones are especially tough. You've got to pull an outer portion of it back, and then there's a clip that you have to push forward in order to get them apart. They could be a real pain. I think I spend as much time walking back and forth, getting tools or putting interior pieces in the garage as I do actually working on the car. There was a pretty big threat of rain this day, so I didn't want to just leave it out. Now, the way that this passenger seat goes together, I think is unique to the 05 year. You've got I think it's a T50 Star where the seat belt mounts to the seat itself. Here's a little B-roll. Complicated things a little, but not too bad. Just not used to having to do that. And like I said, I think it's only 05. Again, there's a lot of things unique to 05, so all in, this car was pretty clean. And later in the video, you'll see why I'm tearing it apart. And actually, that's a good thing to talk about. Why am I doing this? I do get asked, if the car needs an engine, why are you bothering to strip the interior out? And it's just something I like to do. I find that it never matters how clean it looks. It's never really as clean as you'd want it to be. I like them clean. There's a lot of grit and grime that's difficult to get to. If you just vacuum the carpets or whatever, yeah, you can make it look good on the surface, but it's never really clean. So doing this allows us to get into all of those nooks and crannies that are impossible to get to otherwise. And you'll see once the carpet comes out how much stuff is able, grit and grime and fluid leakages is able to get down. Even though the underlayment of the carpet is impervious, things are still able to get down to the floorboard. And all of that stuff just smells. They all have their own unique little funk to it. So removing as much as we can seems to really help. The interior of these cars come apart amazingly easily. Granted, I'm practiced at it now. So I didn't intend to do a voiceover, but about midway through this video, neighbors are firing up Harleys, and then other neighbors are running leaf blowers, and all the traffic and people walking by. It was more than I wanted to edit out, so it was just easier to mute the video and do a voiceover. Plus my singing. And I always struggle with the upper portion of the rear seat. I can never seem to remember how it comes apart or how. Yeah, I just end up struggling with it and futzing with it until it comes out. I don't really. It's like right about the point you start to think you're going to boil over, it goes pop. Normally they split apart the 60/40 portion of it. So sometimes you'll be able to remove the driver's side and the passenger side separately. This one didn't come apart that way, so. Now you'll see throughout this video, just like the engine stuff, I really like to put the clips, bolts, nuts, all of that stuff, screws, all of that stuff back where it came from. It makes it a little bit more of a pain when it comes to the cleaning part of it, but if it's going to take you a week or two to, get the interior cleaned up, let it dry out, and get it back installed, you may forget where some of this stuff goes. It's just helpful. So it's at this point that you could, if you were just trying to turn this into a day project, you could stop here. You could, if you had a carpet extractor, you could vacuum this out, soap it up, scrub it up, extract it, and you'd be 90% of the way there. You will see that there's quite a bit of grit and grime underneath the carpet, as I said. But, if it's your grit and grime, it's not so bad. When it's somebody else's, it's not my cup of tea. You could even take it a little bit further and, remove the center console and then have good access to, all the spilt coffee and soda and stuff that you'll find underneath it. Now, there are a plethora of clips up in the front section. Subaru really didn't want that carpet sliding around. Yeah, it's a safety issue if it does, but this carpet was in great shape. Now, I normally like to pull the carpet and set it out there in the driveway and pressure wash it. Now, pressure washing I find is the best way to clean the carpet. Like I said, there's an underlayment to the carpet that's impervious. It's completely watertight, and so you can take that carpet, set it out there, hit it with a pressure washer, and literally flush all of the grit and grime out of it. And I've never seen a carpet come cleaner than doing that. The bad side to that is that under the carpet, under the underlayment, is this really soft, super spongy foam. And once it gets wet, it takes forever to dry out. Now, if this was summertime, here where I'm at, and it's 100 degrees plus, it'll dry out in just a few days. Being that it's fall now, you can see all the leaves all over the ground. Trees are starting to turn. It would take weeks for it to dry out. Last time I did this in the wintertime, or fall rather, I ended up having to stick the carpet back in the car with a dehumidifier in order to get it to dry out. And that took days. Well, I don't have days here, so what I opted to do instead of pressure washing the carpet out is rent an extractor. I have access to, your home style carpet extractors, but the rented ones, those ones are on point. It's unfortunate that I left the center console lit up so you can't see what's happening here. There is a way to disassemble all of that. Um, it's a little complicated. It's a bit Legoed together. I made myself bleed. The leather handbrake wrap, the boot on it. Every time you pull that thing off, it gets me every single time, and I know it's coming. It's funny. Some of the clips for some of the trim pieces in this car I found under the carpet. I'll have to show you that orange handled screwdriver one day. That's a Harbor Freight screwdriver that I bend in such a way, and it's the most useful thing. It's hardly useful as an actual screwdriver. But when I bent it up, man, it's like a pick on crack. So the front section here is a bit of a Rube Goldberg. You've got to disassemble some pieces in order to, my band-aid's falling off. You got to disassemble some pieces in order to get other pieces out, and just the way it goes together is kind of a disaster. It's not complicated, it's just what it is. So some of those clips underneath there, some of them screw in, some of them are pressed in, some are short, some are long. And there's much more on the driver's side than there is the passenger side. But you've got a carpet guard over there next to the throttle pedal. You've got your footrest, dead pedal on the other side. There are two different screws that go into those side pieces there for the center console. And one of them is a sort of a machine screw, and then the other one is a pointed, like plastic sort of screw. And so you saw me put them in earlier, but then I pulled them and put them in again. I was just switching them around because I had gotten them wrong. I don't think it really matters, but Making sure all the screws and bolts are all where they belong, because this carpet's about to come out. And sometimes those seat bolts have to come out in order for you to get the carpet out and around them. Now, normally I would fold the carpet in half and then pull it out the rear hatch, but you guys are in the way, so I rolled it up and then pulled it out the rear door. Careful not to scratch the door if you do this. Here she is. I don't normally take that side out, but I did this time because give the paintless dent repair guy good access to that dent on the inside. Oh look, there's a fin right there. How interesting. Anyways. You know, even when they're clean, they're not really that clean. It's always interesting to see the history on cars. Cheerios. I found some Lego pieces. Here, Johnny, you want a peanut? And then more interesting history. So the glass has been broken out of it before. I was trying to figure out where. I mean, it's all predominantly on the driver's side, so it would make you guess probably the driver's side. Look at that. How's that thing gonna look brand new? Still good to eat. Around the gas store. Anyways, till I saw that there. That'd be a chunk of glass in the drain. Oop! In the drain hole, so. Anyways. And get all this cleaned up tomorrow. It's not really that bad, the carpet. I've seen them a lot worse, let me tell you. And then all the guts. So, yeah, not too bad. Took me about an hour and a half to get it all tore out, so we're gonna get on Mr. Steamy. Clean this up proper. Oh, you guys want to see something nasty? Look at all that dry skin. skin cells, sweat. Oh, I hate steering wheels. God, they're so gross. Come on, focus. Yeah, it's getting dark anyway, so. Alright.